Okay, that's it. We're live. We're up.
What do you
Welcome,
mean
everybody.
live? Like people can come in and watch this?
Yep. People can
Why?
come in and watch it, and there'll be video that they can watch later
Okay.
on as well. We're doing it all. Welcome, everyone, to Retro Filmdango, episode number 29. This is all about the Conans. Conan O'Brien. Conan. That's it. That's the only other Conan, right? There's just Conan O'Brien and Conan the Barbarian. Then there's Conan the Destroyer and Conan the Red Sonja. Okay. You good, Richard? You're looking a little lost.
No, I can't figure any of this out. Everything's different now.
Okay, just relax. Go with it, man. I know you can
Okay, here we
think
go.
of things on the fly. We're doing something a little different. Doing it different. Okay, well, we're with a guest. I'm here, Richard's here, and our guest Matt Bandy's here, who you could see.
Hello.
Matt Bandy, what's your history with the Conans? Have you watched these movies before, or was this your first time?
No, I've watched them many times. I saw my introduction to the series was Conan the Barbarian, and I have real fond memories of watching that at my cousin's house because I was kind of at an age where it was like I was a little too young to be watching it, but my uncle was kind of okay with it. So, I think he tried to have me turn my head when there was boobs on screen. But, yeah, that was my introduction to the series, and then Conan the Destroyer. I had some neighbors that he had a huge VHS collection that I wish was still around to this day because they had all these horror science fiction movies. Their collection was insane. It would make Chris Roberts very jealous if he saw this collection that they had.
That's not easy to do.
No, they let me borrow Conan the Destroyer, and I kept it forever, and I watched that a ton. And Red Sonja, I had seen maybe part of it years ago, and I didn't remember much about it except for one scene in particular. But so this viewing was the first time I saw it in its entirety.
Okay.
So that's pretty much my history with the movie franchise.
Okay. So you are our go-to expert for the first two films.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert.
I would. All right. Richard, I believe you've watched these before, right? You've watched at least the first two before?
Well, the first one I saw was Red Sonja. That was on TV all the time when I was a kid. This was the first time for me to probably see the entire thing, like not the television edit and see it in widescreen. But the Conan films I saw for the first time just about a year or two ago. I was really curious because I'd always heard so many things. Then I watched them. And I remember not enjoying them too much. I was really confused about the first one, so I was looking forward to getting back into it. In fact, I was planning on buying both of those movies because I saw them a little while ago, but Corona kept me locked up. But yeah, I was really interested to get back into those. But you, Kevin, is this the first time that you've seen the Conans?
Yes, I've never seen any of them before. Not even on TV or anything. It was the first time. I don't know if I don't even remember them being on TV.
You guys completely miss these as a kid?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm sure the first one, because I was young when the first one came out and it was rated R.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that's why. And then I don't know why I never saw the other two. Not sure. I was big into that kind of mythology, like He-Man. He-Man was the number one toy there when I was a kid.
I was going to say that's a direct result from Conan. They just wanted to make barbarian toys. So
right.
It was all into He-Man, and the style of these movies is like what I'm really into. I like the sword and sorcery, adventure kind of stuff. But no, for some reason, I never saw them as a kid. I watched RoboCop.
Yeah, RoboCop was a big, big thing in my house too. Okay, well, why don't we just get into it? Why don't we get into Conan the Barbarian from 1982? And who would like to read us a rundown? How about Matt? How about you give us?
I
You
actually
don't have it.
I don't have it. Is there if you
Yeah.
could send it to me?
I did
I
send it to you. I sent it to
You did.
your Gmail account.
Oh,
Yeah, it's all because stuff ain't different. Why this ain't Skype?
there it is, right there.
Yeah.
How about that?
I do things ahead of time, before we hit record.
Thank you,
I was
by
so
the way.
prepared. I was so prepared too. God dang it.
That's okay. It's not
Okay,
the
you like
first-
me to do the rundown here?
Go for it.
Okay, the rundown. A young boy, Conan, becomes a slave after his parents are killed and tribe destroyed by a savage warlord and sorcerer, Thulsa Doom. When he grows up, he becomes a fearless, invincible fighter. Set free, he plots revenge against Thulsa Doom. The film stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Earl Jones, Max von Sydow, and Sandal Bergman. Director was John Millis. Writing credits go to John Millis and Oliver Stone. Is this the Oliver Stone or is this
The
another
Oliver Stone.
Wow.
Yeah.
The runtime is 2 hours and 9 minutes, maybe 40 minutes too long. With a budget of 20 million, and it made anywhere from 68.9 to 79.1 million worldwide.
Yeah. It was a weird number. They couldn't
Yeah.
pin it down to the million. It was somewhere in that range.
I'm actually kind of, I didn't know it. It was, I mean, obviously, according to this, it was a pretty big success, and especially for a sword and sorcery movie from that time. That's huge.
Yeah.
And an R-rated movie too.
Yep.
Yeah. The only reason this movie is rated R is because of all the boobs in the sex scenes. That's it.
Yeah.
Because the violence compared to this one and the Destroyer, like it's on par with each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the
Maybe
tone
because
was taken slightly more serious in this.
Oh
first
yeah,
one.
for sure,
They
for
go
sure.
silly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start off with the fun facts. Fun fact, Schwarzenegger had to cut down on his workout routine because his arm and chest muscles were so big that he couldn't wield a sword properly.
Yeah, I actually just heard that last week.
I just read it 20 minutes ago. So
That's funny.
I was like, wow, that's great.
In preparation for the role, Schwarzenegger had weapons training, martial arts training, and horse riding lessons. He trained with an 11-pound broadsword for 2 hours a day for 3 months. Each broadsword used in the movie cost $10,000 and had to look weathered. He also learned climbing techniques and how to fall and roll and jump from at least 15 feet in the air. When did he do that?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I remember him jumping off. We jumped off something in the second movie, but
Second
I'm trying to
movie,
think.
yeah.
Well, I guess this
When
leads
he-
into the next fun fact.
But let's talk about the $10,000 swords. That's excessive. How can you make a sword that costs $10,000? That's
That's
wild.
$10,000, $1982.
That is
too,
insane.
so yeah, it's wild. Okay, Matt, how about giving us the next fun fact?
Yeah, Schwarzenegger and Am I saying Sandal?
Sandal.
Is that
I say Sandal
Bergman? Sandal Bergman did their own stunts in the film as they couldn't find suitable body doubles for them.
And this was probably Schwarzenegger's first. I know he was in that Pumping Iron, which was it was a documentary on bodybuilding, but I think this was like his first big movie, right? He had like some small roles here and there, but
There's something called like Hercules in New York. I don't know what that
Oh,
is.
yeah.
right.
But yeah, I guess this is his major breakout. They're like, we're making a barbarian movie. Hey, that guy.
But he was already known as like Mr. Universe at this time, right? He wasn't like an unknown guy coming in. People already kind of knew who he was, right?
Yeah, well, the Pumping Iron documentary was fairly well known, like it's fairly big.
Yeah.
So yeah. for sure. Conan's response to Mongol general's question, "What is best in life?" are the very first lines of dialogue he speaks in the film after a full 20 minutes into the movie.
Right.
Which bleeds into our next fun fact, Richard.
Sorry. Then, even though Conan and Valeria are shown together frequently throughout the film, he only says 5 words to her in the entire film.
That's funny. It is her name even said in this movie? Like, I don't think I listened for it, and I don't remember him saying Valeria or if her name was even said in the film.
It's said a lot in the second movie because they refer to her a heck of a lot, but not in this first one. I don't know. I kept just calling her Frogtown throughout the whole movie because she's in.
Oh yeah, she is in that.
She's in Frogtown. So I just.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
In Frogtown, there was an actor, William Smith, who is also in this movie.
Fun fact.
There you go.
Okay, our final.
With Sandal Bergman.
Oh no, our second final. I'm not going to say it. Oliver. Oh yeah, sorry, Matt. It's yours. Go for it.
Okay. Oliver Stone wrote the initial script for the film. He set the story in the future after the downfall of civilization, and it was going to be a 4-hour saga that included a bunch of creatures. It would have cost the studio $7 million to make, so they didn't move forward. $70 million to make, so they didn't move forward with his vision.
That would have been an expensive
I wonder,
movie.
Was it? Probably wasn't even Conan the Barbarian story. It probably was just some story that he'd.
Yeah, I don't know.
Made up.
Well, I suppose you could do it that way. It's kind of like Nier. You know, you go after future civilization falls apart, everybody reverts back to the olden times, but
that
with magic.
Sense. But Conan the Barbarian, that was already like an established thing, right? There were comic books and everything before this movie came out.
Yeah, Robert E. Howard started writing those books in like the 30s and 20s, 1920s and 30s. Yeah, yeah. So that the lore in the world was already pre-established.
You've read some of those, right, Matt?
I have, yeah.
So is Conan like initially based in the past, or is it like some kind of future thing? Does he?
No, it takes place like it's like it's in a. The land is called Hyperborea, and it's essentially kind of like before or right around the time that Atlantis, the fictional world of Atlantis, had sunk into the ocean. So it kind of takes place on Earth, but it's like its own prehistory type stuff.
So does it involve like time travel and portals and things like that?
No,
too,
not at all. No time travel, no portal. Yeah, it was like an ancient land that it just kind of dissolved. And like takes place basically on one large continent, and there's different states or different lands or countries within the in the Hyperborea setting.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Final fun fact: Sandal Bergman says she had the tip of her finger cut off while shooting a sword fight for the picture.
That would hurt.
Yeah, that would suck. She earned her paycheck.
They were probably upset that she got blood all over that $10,000 sword.
Yeah.
Wonder if it came out of her paycheck. Okay, well, Conan the Barbarian. First time watching it. Movie fires up. Really dig the theme. Thought that theme was pretty good.
There was a really fun theme, the one they play when they attack Conan's village.
Yeah.
I played that back a few times. I really enjoyed that. It comes back later in the film, too.
Then, of course, I noted that it was written by Oliver Stone. So the movie opens up with Pa telling young Conan the way it is, the way life is.
The secret of steel.
Right before the bad guys come in and kill everyone, and then they steal all the children to go and they become
that
slaves.
Wheel.
They got to turn a wheel, right? And through the turning of that wheel over the years, Conan becomes massive and huge. It's a great workout, I guess. And I guess these bad guys really feed their slaves well for him to be able to put on like lots of protein, A lot of carbs, lean meats, I guess. All right.
You might want to jump in here, Matt, because I know what Kevin's going to say the entire show.
What am I going to say?
Well, all right, then I'll jump in first. When I first saw this movie a couple of years ago, I was really confused by it. I know a lot of people love it. A lot of people say it's this great movie. I just couldn't fathom what was going on. You hit it perfectly in your introduction, Matt. The movie is 40 minutes too long.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that 40 minutes is scenes of nothing. It's scenes of people staring into the distance and not saying anything. That fun fact about them saying 5 words to each other. I don't. It's a little difficult because I go into this movie with the expectations of it being a Schwarzenegger movie. But this is a movie featuring Arnold Schwarzenegger before Schwarzenegger movies were a thing. So a lot of the tropes of like the silly one-liners and the hokey action and stuff are not present here. So I'm a little confused mentally just because I want it to be a Schwarzenegger blockbuster movie, but it's not. It's just a movie that was intended to be taken seriously, but it just happens to star the guy who became known for silly blockbusters. If anything, this kind of cemented the foundation for that. Maybe they realized, oh, this guy's not too good at the talking, and so let's just, give him silly things to say. The movie's really obtuse. It's a very simple story of, all right, kid becomes a slave, he gets revenge. Very simple. He never goes through any of the standard responses or actions that you'd expect, like even basic stuff. His mom defends him and gets decapitated by James Earl Jones. And the kid, I don't know, the kid's not a great actor or whatever. There's just no reaction on his face. It just, okay, just keep staring at James Earl Jones for seriously like 5 minutes. They're just looking at each other. He gets taken off to be a slave, turn the wheel. All right. There's no uprising. There's no resistance. There's no, I don't want to be a slave. So I never feel like I understand what's going on in his head.
Mm-hmm.
Even after he's taken off the wheel, somebody buys him and turns him into a fighter. He's confused during that first fight, but then still there's no like, are you happy to be a fighter? Do you want to be a slave again? There's no dialogue expressing anything. This film is actually the kind of the polar opposite of too much exposition. In a lot of films they say too much and they don't show enough. This is like all visual storytelling, but I have no idea what's going on because nobody says anything. They just stare off into the distance. So I never have a clear sense of his character. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Or even why was he released? Like he's a fighting slave. He's like this champion gladiator guy. And then suddenly someone just cuts him loose. It's like, go. Why?
Yeah,
did you want to stay? Are you having a good life there? Or like, what's going on?
It was the Redbeard guy who bought him, I guess, off of the guys that were turning the wheel that wanted to make him into a fighter.
I think the red-haired guy was like the guy that was in charge of the wheel. He was like the guy. He was like a Vanir is what they. You hear it subtly in the film, and the Vanir are like a race of people that are north of Cimmeria, where Conan was from. They're like kind of like the Nordic version of people that live in that area. So you see like a shot of the Redbeard guy when he's young. You see like a red-haired kid, kind of older than Conan, but that's the same guy at the Wheel of Pain. Like later in the movie, who basically owns him or is in charge of him. So they're like initially those kids are sold from Thulsa Doom and his troop to like the Northerners. So that's the same guy that has been in charge of him is basically his entire life up to that point.
What were they turning that wheel for? What was the purpose?
I don't know. They're making
they grinding corn,
making masa. Yeah. But I always thought that visually that looks cool. Like you said, Richard, like there's a lot of stuff that it looks neat. Like visually it looks cool, but yeah, like it had been quite a while since I'd seen this movie, and I forgot how awful the pacing was, how long the movie is, and
Mhm.
how there's like zero character development. None.
Yeah, and
Like they don't flesh out his character or motivation for any of these characters really at all. Even James Earl Jones, Thulsa Doom, it's like what's really his motivation? Like
right.
we can go into like his character a little bit more later too. He's not actually Thulsa Doom's not actually part of the Conan lore. He's another of Robert E. Howard's characters. Like the character of Thulsa Doom is more along the lines of Thoth Amon, who's in the second movie.
Like, yeah, I don't need much for a Conan movie. In fact, like, again, it's a weird balance because it's not a hokey Schwarzenegger movie. I don't know how serious they were trying to take this when they made it. Like, was this supposed to be this big, epic, like Ben-Hur kind of movie where they have all these shots of him looking off into the distance? And, if you had a good character and a good actor, you could pull that off. Or, I mean, it's even, look at Star Wars when Luke goes up and looks at those twin suns and he's like, oh, we got the basic character development to understand what he's feeling. Conan, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea what his motivation is. A couple simple lines, like, I don't want to be a slave or something, would help me out.
Maybe that, because I think they pretty much had free reign to do whatever they wanted with his origin story. Because in the Robert E. Howard books, the very first work that he published, Conan was already king of Aquilonia. So he was already like in a lot of the stories that he wrote, none of them had to do with where he like his childhood or where he came from. That wasn't really fleshed out. That wasn't really important in the stories. So that his upbringing or where he like they kind of I think they just kind of did that on their own, and they did a poor job.
So I'm looking at the director now. I didn't recognize his name, but he worked on the first two Dirty Harry movies as a writer. So he obviously has a sense of how to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
Really, like I think James, like you're saying, James Earl Jones' character Thulsa Doom needed. I think he was just a slave trader. I think that was just it. Early on he was a slave trader. Why he, kills all the women and men and kidnaps the children and trades them as slaves was never explained. I mean, you think trading full-grown men.
Well, there was something about him. He was searching for steel, the secret of steel.
Right. Yeah.
He says that later on. So I guess that was a point in his life. He was just why would he kill everybody if he wanted to learn the secret?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But then he learned that flesh was the tougher thing, and he became like someone who could.
He's like some
the leader of a cult, right?
Yeah. So like that cult, he's like that's a big part of a lot of the Conan stories. There's like different cults of different gods, and he is like the cult of Set, and Set is kind of like the evil god, the serpent god in these stories, and yeah. So that's kind of his motivation, I guess, is like the worshiping Set or trying to become powerful, but it's kind of weak, and they don't really. I think they mention Set like once or twice, just kind of casually in the movie.
Yeah, a little repetition would have helped, especially in sword and sorcery fantasy movies when there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. It helps to hear the name a couple of times and develop a context for some of this stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, it had been years since I'd seen this movie, and it's only been maybe the last 5-6 years that I really started reading a lot of the Robert E. Howard books. So I'm way more familiar with the lore than I was when I had originally seen these movies, and it had been probably 10 years since I'd seen Conan the Barbarian. So I was able to pick up on a little bit more of those things that I'd that just kind of went over my head, or I just didn't, my ear didn't pick up because I didn't know what they were talking about. And it's funny because I like this movie less now than when I did, years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you guys on the pacing. At 2 hours and 10 minutes, it feels this is way too long. I think there's a good 90-minute movie.
A decent 90-minute movie.
Yeah, in here somewhere. I thought a lot of the visual effects were pretty good. Like the giant snake, I thought held up, even though it's like Arnie wrestling with a rubber snake for a lot of the close-ups. And it actually, when I first watched it, I didn't even understand that was a giant snake until it started sneaking up on Conan. And when they first show it, it just looks like a big snake. Like a python, like a regular sized python wrapped around something. And then when it starts sneaking up on Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's actually giant. But I thought all those, like that kind of stuff really worked in the movie.
Visually, they have a lot of nice locations. I mean, that huge staircase at the end, that was impressive. I mean, this is long before CG.
That's when he bowls with... Spoiler alert! By the way, we spoil all the movies here, so that's when he uses James Earl Jones's head to go bowling. The movie.
That's a cool scene.
I'm not sure about the other two, but this movie was shot in Spain, and it looks really good. There's also the knockout. He knocks out a camel in one of the towns, which I don't know if that made a splash or something, because they made sure to make a callback joke to it in the second film. There isn't too many callbacks in the second film to this movie, other than Valeria,
yeah.
Other than Frogtown and punching out the camel. I don't. Then there's a lot of things that don't make sense that they don't explain. Like when they go into that temple to break in. Conan and his friend go down to the basement, and Frogtown stays on the main floor for some reason to find out what's going on. And, she's like hiding in the back. She's trying to see what all these people are doing. Then it goes down to Arnie and his friend in the basement, and they're creeping up on the snake. And then it goes back up to her. And somehow she's completely dressed now in their garb. She's got like and they don't.
Yeah, she did knock somebody out and put on their costume, but you just don't see it.
It's just she's there. She's got the clothes now. She found someone who had her size, and now she's in there. So a lot of weird things like that. I liked when they escape that place. They escape from the roof. They go up to the top, and then they look down, and there's a swimming pool down there they're going to jump into, and that pool looked like as if it was about 3 feet deep. They jumped from 100 feet high and went into the
Maybe
pool.
that's what he had to do that training for.
Maybe, I don't know. They never show it. He just kind of jumps off the side. But let's see what happened next. Let's see. Arnie disguised himself as a priest to sneak back in, because I think did he tell his friends to take off, I guess, at some point?
Yeah, they don't show up for the ending.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. They just disappear. He meets I don't remember their names, but he meets the one guy who's chained up outside the witch's hut, and then they run into Sandal Bergman, who's also breaking into the place they're breaking into, and they just instantly, it's like, big, all right, let's rob together. And then he meets up with the wizard by staring at him, and they become friends.
That was the other thing, too. At the beginning of the movie, the wizard says, "I'm the narrator of the story." And when we get to the end of this movie, you will understand why I am the narrator of this story. We got to the end of it. I didn't understand. He was still alive. Spoiler alert. But I didn't really understand why he was the narrator of Conan's story.
He does come back for the sequel.
Yeah.
Unlike Conan's other friend, who
I don't know,
got written out for another character.
They couldn't afford him. There was Arnie. So then at some point, the Doom there, Mr. Doom, Thulsa Doom, captures Arnie as he's disguised as a priest, tries to get in there, and they tie him.
Were there? We kind of forgot to talk about why they're there, because they got contacted by that king to rescue his daughter, who had been corrupted by that's kind of, it takes a while to get to the kind of, that's I think the main story. They're on this adventure to get this to rescue this princess that the king paid him all that money for.
Eventually, I think Arnold's real goal throughout the whole thing is revenge, right? He
Right,
just wants
yeah.
to get, Conan.
Yeah,
If you call him Arnold, but Conan.
again, it's just not very clear. They don't focus on it. You don't feel like he's actively pursuing that.
No.
You know,
It
he's
was-
not resisting to get away at the beginning, and then when he does get away, it's kind of a very slow build, and then it gets sidetracked by this other thing, because it's like he wants to find those snakes. He's going around doing this to everybody, showing them the snake fists, and then they get sidetracked by this "go save my daughter" thing, and then that it kind of leads up to his revenge. So it's a messy story. It's a messy movie, but it was really popular and people still love it.
Yeah,
so
it made a ton of
what
dough.
exactly is the appeal of this really hard to watch movie?
It might have just had the time, might have been just the time, 1982. You didn't see the movie is impressive looking, especially for 1982.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing, the trailer, come see Arnold Schwarzenegger in his first role, and it, the reviews for it were okay as far as I could tell. Like it reviewed fairly highly, big action adventure movie. Released in, I could see it.
If this movie got cut down to like an hour and a half, an hour and 20 minutes,
yeah, absolutely,
it still wouldn't be a good movie, but
it would be much better.
It would be easier to watch.
Yeah. Okay, I got a few things here I want to get to before I forget. The one thing that Thulsa Doom does when he captures Arnie is he doesn't kill him right away, because bad guys never do that to the good guys. Instead, he's going to torture him, right, and tie him to this tree.
Tree of
Not
woe.
tied, he was crucified.
He was
Right, he was crucified to the tree of woe, where vultures start attacking Conan, and then it goes to a close-up where a vulture's just a fake vulture is scraping its beak on Conan to make it look like as if it's eating him, and then Conan bites him and spits him out. I thought that was pretty funny. I thought
That's what you do.
That's
there are lots of individual scenes in this movie that are very memorable and very likable. And if they had been able to keep that pacing and that level of interest for the entire thing, it could have been a really fun movie.
So then his friends come in and save him by writing a bunch of shit on his face. All those little numbers. And
are you under the impression do you think is he dead then, or is he nearly
zombie?
Died? I don't. Yeah, I was.
He's zombie.
I didn't really catch it. I was like, is he dead or is he dying? Yeah.
So now him and his friends try to go back in there to get this princess, and they stumble onto an orgy that has a big pussy in it. Did you see that? It was like a mountain lion or a leopard.
Oh yeah.
Then James Earl Jones turns into a snake.
Yeah.
And then they start dining on Soylent Green.
Yeah. Did you notice? I didn't. This was the first time I noticed, when they're going up to that, when they sneak in, there's people that are halved and that are flayed open. I didn't notice that, and this is the first time I was like, "Oh wow!" Because you can see body parts in the
goo, yeah,
in the goo, but when they're making the goo, before they're bringing it up, in the background you can see people that have been cut open and splayed open, and I didn't notice. This is my first time I noticed that. Yeah, I was like, "Oh wow, that's kind of gnarly."
Yeah.
Yeah, Soylent Green. I thought about that when I was watching.
I was like, "What?
It's people."
Spoiler alert for Soylent Green. So then they try to get away, and Frogtown is killed with a snake arrow. I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, I think that's when I stopped making notes. At that point, that was as far as I got. Arnie praised the crumb, and I don't know. I was waiting for this movie to be finished because
Yeah, that seems like it should be the part where okay, they go there and do what they set out to do, but they got to go back and then go back again. That's, to me, that should have been that happens. Movie, they should have ended it up.
That happens too much, and they should. Yeah, it could have been. There's no point in saying it. We said it enough already. 90 minutes. That's how long this movie should have been.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I still do like this movie to an extent, but it's
I like the concept. I really like the concept of the character and the setting, and I'm ready for a visceral sword and sorcery action movie. But no,
Yep.
and then I saw the one they made 10 years ago or whatever with Aquaman,
Yeah.
and that was a disappointment too. I'd rather watch this first one again.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I
Just
couldn't
because I
even
heard it was
watch
bad.
it.
Yeah.
I couldn't even watch it. It just
No, this one at least has its own unique character and style and charm to it. The other one is just empty, flat,
Yeah.
nothing.
I really think just the only problem with this movie is the pacing. It's just way too I don't think you could take the scenes and just cut out a bunch of scenes and the movie would be better. I think the pacing needed to be better. I kind of want to recut it now myself.
Better pacing, and it also needs a little more dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a little
Just
more
say
explanation.
say people's names, have them converse a little more, some banter. There's no banter between any of the characters.
No.
You have no idea why is Conan friends with that other guy. You don't even know his name. He just kind of shows up when Conan's tied to a tree. Somebody's got to show up and set him free, so that guy does. You know?
It didn't seem like they were actively pursuing him, trying to find him, track him down or anything. Just nope, there he
shows
is.
up. Yeah, there. Showed up somehow.
And you don't even see him being removed from the tree or anything. It's just he shows up, Arnold laughs, and now he's wrapped up like a mummy.
Yeah. All right.
What did you think of Valeria's death scene where it's pretty cool, where she's like, "Let me breathe my last breath in you."
What are you talking about? There was no bond between these characters. They were totally into each other.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Conan the Destroyer from 1984.
Oh, sorry. One more thing. Awesome
Of
poster.
course. Oh, they all have great
yeah.
posters.
Awesome poster.
Great. Okay. Who would like to give us the rundown? Richard.
Conan the Destroyer. Conan leads a ragtag group of adventurers on a quest for a princess. It's the best you can come up with?
I didn't come up with it.
Film stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Grace Jones, Olivia D'Abo, who I kept thinking was Dana Plato, and Wilt Chamberlain. Hey, look at that. Movie starring basketball players. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone thought of doing that.
I just did.
A Filmdango, nothing but movies with basketball players in it. That's a good idea. That's great.
Directed by Richard Fleischer, writing credits Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway. An hour and 41 minutes. Much better. Budget and box office, 18 million to make, 31 million worldwide.
It's not a big profit margin.
Well,
okay, fun fact. The film was shot in Mexico City as a cost-cutting measure. Conan the Destroyer used the same crew and some of the same locations as another Dino De Laurentiis production, director David Lynch's 1984 adaptation of Dune, which was shooting in Mexico at the same time. I put that in there for you, Richard.
Thank you.
Matt Bandy, would you like to give us the next fun fact?
Sure will. Princess Jenna was actress Olivia D'Abo's first acting role. She was 13 years old when filming began. That's crazy. She does not look 13 years old.
How many of you feel bad now? Do you feel creepy now?
No, I was gonna say later on, I totally agree with Arnold. There's no reason he should be lusting after a 15-year-old. Now that I know she's only 13, makes it super creepy.
Yeah. I was
under the impression she was pretty young. I didn't know she was that young.
Yeah.
That's ew.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have put that. That's not really a fun fact. That's a creepy fact. Okay, basketball. Sorry, Richard, it's yours.
No, don't steal my thunder. Basketball fans may recognize Jenna's bodyguard, Bombata, as basketball legend Wilt Chamberlain. Conan the Destroyer was Chamberlain's only credited on-screen role, although he made an uncredited appearance as himself in 1999's Any Given Sunday. See, his name I know because they say it all the time.
Yeah, and she's calling for him.
Bombata, I need you, Bombata. All the time.
Conan the Destroyer initially received an R rating from the MPAA. Like it's similarly. What? Okay, sorry. Conan the Destroyer initially received an R rating from the MPAA, like its similarly violent predecessor, Conan the Barbarian. But it was recut and given a PG rating because the filmmakers thought the movie would make more money if it catered to a broader audience. And
I wonder
didn't.
what was cut.
You do get a couple of floaty heads. Like there's a scene here and in Red Sonja where it's like kill a guy, kill a guy, kill a guy, last guy, whook, and then focus on that spinny head.
It reminded me a lot of a video game. You kind of do that in a lot of hack and slash video games because you got a bunch of guys and you kind of got to do the fast attacks. Now you're down to the one guy and you can do like a nice big
that's your stylish finish.
Yeah, time for the finish move. Okay, Matt, give us our final fun fact.
Who was the actor underneath the rubber suit created for the monstrous deity Dagoth? None other than Andrei Rene Ruzumov, better known as the wrestler Andre the Giant. I actually just found that out 10 minutes ago before we started the show.
There you go.
He's uncredited too. I didn't realize he was in the suit. I just thought he was like the voice or the. That makes more sense now, though. That makes way more sense.
That's strange though. He doesn't look that big to me. Because he's got that silly Halloween store rubber mask on.
Right.
He doesn't like Andre, I imagine, having like this massive neck. Oh, I guess that's why the mask didn't fit so nicely. Because they had to stretch it over his giant head.
Probably, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I got to say, I was a little disappointed with that rubber suit. I did not.
Oh, really? Oh, I love it. So good.
It looks like they went down to...
With the vagina mouth.
Yeah.
Constantly open.
I'm not saying the concept of it. It's just when I was watching it, I was thinking, okay, this is 1984. And in the same year, you got Terminator coming out in 1984. And to me, like, I know it's not really fair to compare the two, but I think like James Cameron comes up with something that would look good on film in 1984, which is Terminator, like that, and uses the stop motion and all that. And to me, that's just like the difference between a really good, director with a vision in that and just a competent one who comes like, oh, we'll just put a big dude.
They clearly spent their budget in other areas. They had to buy all those $10,000 swords. Yeah. So when it came down to getting this monster done, they just went to the store and said, all right, you got a mask, get a cape. All right, we got a monster.
You don't like the monster either, Richard?
He's really silly looking. Like,
oh man, I think it's so cool.
It's silly to the point that it's just like distracting. Yeah.
Like the snakes in the previous movie, the big snake and James Earl Jones, that looks way better than this.
Because there's some other competent things in the film. It's just like compared to everything else in the film, it goes down like considerably.
Especially like that's your big ending too. Like this is your final impression that you're going to leave with the audience as they leave the theater. And yeah, well, you'll notice that they did cut the budget of this movie. Like the last one, they say it's 20 million. This one was 18 million. So they did cut the budget on this movie. Of course, they shot it in Mexico instead of Spain, which I guess saved them a few bucks, but still, and it didn't make as much too. It only made 31 million.
And they managed to find worse actors.
Well, I will say with this movie, when it started off, I felt like, okay, because I had never seen Conan at all before or anything like that. But when this movie started, I was like, okay, this is what I thought Conan was. It felt lighter. There was banter between all the characters. I just loved the tone. It was bright. Like the last one felt very dark. They were always in something like, I don't know, there was like always in dusk or something like that. It was a very dark movie. This one just like they're out, in the daylight fighting and swords and stuff and having fun. Like he had his little friend with him. Like there was just Conan and his friend at the beginning, and they get ambushed by all these dudes and they just start fighting and they're like, hey, shouldn't we just give up? And like, no, like they're going to kill us and stuff. They want to take us and torture us or eat us or something, So I don't know. I was just having a lot more fun with this movie. And of course it's only 90-ish minutes long, which just seems to fit this style of movie.
Yeah, fun is a good way to describe this movie, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely prefer this one to the first movie. It's still tough to say that I enjoyed watching it. It has some better scenes. It has better banter. Arnold talks a lot more in this one. The plot is very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Just go after. You have to go on this mission so you can become a king and get your dead lady back. And then you get your cast of characters. I really hate his buddy though. He's like the worst
really?
actor I've ever seen in a movie. His delivery, his voice, everything about him is just off-putting, and it really makes me wonder why we ever got onto this whole thing that you have to have this comedic sidekick, like because he's the punctuation mark of so many scenes where it's like everybody does their thing and then okay, leave us with the funny, go, and he's flat. He's like the worst comedic sidekick in any movie I've ever seen.
wonder too, like I know a lot of the dialogue was replaced later. They do that a lot in these kind of movies, especially when you're on location and that, because you can't mic things properly in that. But his lip sync was really off in some scenes, and I'm wondering if that was like his voice, like if they had that actor and another person was.
I don't know.
him.
He has a really strange voice that just, hey Conan, let's go. Sounds very strange.
Those type of characters, they do work in a lot of movies. Like it's supposed to be the guy that's like you need to liven the situation a little bit. Like,
yeah,
hey,
but you
don't
want to
take this
have
too
a
seriously.
funny character if you're gonna end with jokes.
I'm not saying he doesn't work in this movie. Like the character isn't great, but I do see what they were trying to do. They were trying to they felt like they needed someone who could liven up the mood a little bit so you don't get caught up in, that it's too serious,
I don't know.
And
I didn't mind him so much. I mean, it's to me. I mean, it's goofy, but it toes the line to like it doesn't go over into like too much. Like maybe just because I love this movie because I've seen it so many times. I grew up watching this one. I might be a little biased on this one, but I get what you're saying. And the cringiest part for me with his character is when he's trying to explain the birds and the bees to the 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, oh.
That
could have been kind of.
That was I wrote a note on that. That was that I wrote it as 14-year-old sex education.
Yeah.
I felt like a 14-year-old wrote that entire.
Where do you
scene.
think
It wasn't
flowers
just him, it
come
was with
from?
everybody.
Yeah.
The whole thing was just awkward. And,
Well, later on
bad.
too, when he's applying ointments to Grace Jones's character,
Yeah.
like that, I thought that was a
you-
little cringier too. 'Cause
That's what you do. You apply white goo on each other. Instead of licking each other's wounds. Here's some white goo.
So if I can interject
Um,
some Star Trek into the show here, the
you
actor
may.
Tracy Walter is the guy who we're talking about that plays Malik. He was in actually 2 episodes of The Next Generation, which I
Really?
yeah I'm failing to because I looked up his IMDb and I don't remember which episodes they were, but I don't know if he was like a character that was on the same character on 2 different episodes, or he just played 2 different random characters. And
I'm
But so
curious to
was-
hear his voice.
yeah, so Olivia, or what's her name?
Olivia Dabo.
Yeah, she was
on
actually
the
she was also on she was on the Wonder Years, but she was also on an episode of Next Generation as well, where she played a daughter of one of the Qs.
Who was she on the Wonder Years?
She
the
was
older
Kevin
sister?
Arnold's
Yeah, the older
sister.
sister. Yep,
Oh, nice. I had a crush on her when I was a
Karen.
kid. Yeah, not now though. I'm way too old.
You didn't have a crush on the 13-year-old you saw in here?
I did not. I
No?
did not. I felt like that should have been up front. They should do that right up front at the beginning of movies, starring 13-year-old Olivia. Just in case.
And the thing with Malik eating all the jewels, that kept getting to me too, because I'm like, man, he's just gonna get a lower bowel obstruction if he keeps eating those things. Don't do that. It's
Well, they're
bad
gross
news, man.
too. Like they're in these dirty caves and whatnot.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, I'll just swallow that.
There was a scene right there they could have had, like if they just go back to that and suddenly he's off in the corner and doing something, and then like, what are you doing there? I just
Yeah.
getting one of my jewels.
Yeah. So I guess the wizard guy, his name is Mako. They say his
Mako.
name a lot.
The
Yeah.
actor, yeah.
Again, in the first movie, they didn't really say
Yeah,
his
not
name
at
that
all.
much.
Well,
In
his
this one-
name isn't Mako. That's the actor's name.
Oh, is
They
it?
do say it a few times in this movie, but I've forgotten it already.
I think it is Mako.
No, it's like Akihiro or something or
Okay. Well, anyways, the wizard, like, he's about to be eaten by
cannibals.
Cannibals.
Cannibals, yeah.
See, that's
Just
why you
good
need
timing.
you need the comedy there to liven it up because
Well, I
there's
think
serious
that was an
stuff happening.
appropriate level of comedy because it's quick and done. He comes
Yeah.
in, I need you, I'm yours.
I'm
Boom.
yours,
It's like
yeah.
I just like how he continuously runs into people though, just to build up this crew. Like he ran into him, then he runs into Grace Jones next, and they're just like,
Grace
constantly
Jones
just-
is my favorite part of this movie. That's like the one thing I remembered from seeing it, a few years ago, is like when they discover her, and she's kind of being attacked by all these guys, and then Conan just cuts her loose and is like, she could take care of herself.
let her go and do her thing. Yeah, there is one part that I thought the tail was a little silly.
The
Yeah.
wiggle,
There's
yeah, where they
one
give
part-
the
where they dive
Yeah.
into the swimming hole. They need to get into this cave. Is it the crystal part or whatever? The crystal castle.
Thothamon's castle.
So they got to get in there underwater. They come up on the other side, and she comes out and she wags her tail. And even the soundtrack, the movie soundtrack, does that little
The little
sound
piano
effect.
keys, yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Mhm.
that was kind of cringe, I guess, as the kids would say. It's cringy.
So when
Yeah.
when I originally saw this as a kid, I was confused about Grace Slick's character because I wasn't sure, is this a man? Is this a woman? I know they called her her, but I don't really know. And I was watching this on VHS too, so it's
Yeah,
she's very flat chested
Gotcha.
too. So that the whole man, like, God, is she a woman? Is this a guy? I was really confused. But as I got older, I realized who Grace Slick was. But yeah, that was really young Matt was kind of confused.
yeah. Who left the boat out for them so they could get to that castle in the middle of the water? There was just a boat off to the side.
They bought it. They
That's the same boat in Willow. It's just
yes. Speaking
get
of
to
Willow, our boy Pat Roach is in the movie.
Pat Roach.
Pat Roach, General Kale. That is Thothamon.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah,
I guess once you-
he's also he was also in both the Indiana Jones movies.
right.
and-
He's like the big crony.
Yeah, and he's also in another movie we might be talking about in a few minutes.
Okay. Everyone seems to have tracking abilities now. The wizard can track things. He knows where to go just by using some magic, which he didn't have in the previous film. And then our 13-year-old, once she grabs that diamond that they're after, or gem or whatever, then she knows where to go. So everyone just knows where to go.
Well, it's her
And-
destiny.
Right. And when they go into that crystal castle, I guess it's supposed to be cold in there. And
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, I'm glad you
Okay.
saw that.
all right, so I live in a northern climate, and I know what water vapor looks like when it's leaving my mouth, and when it does, I don't look like this.
Somebody in the prop department went to the director and said, "Hey, I got a great idea." Hooked up this little device because they look like they're spitting dragon fire.
Yeah,
I'd love to know what that is.
it's smoke. It's probably
It's probably just like an early vape thing.
Okay,
that just,
yeah.
or like you can get like herbs in that. You can smoke herbs. It doesn't have to be tobacco, and that'll produce like you can blow smoke out of your mouth with that.
Or it
and-
might have even just been maybe some kind of dust or something that they have, on a little thing, and then at the right moment you just blow it out. Because that's what
Yeah.
they did with the fire hydrant in Ghostbusters, right? It was sand that shot up that
Right,
simulate
right.
water. You just put some little powder or something in there to.
Maybe it didn't look good, anyways.
Yeah, you can really tell he's kind of forcing it out.
Yes, yeah, like the actors had to force it out. It wouldn't come out.
Yeah,
of
well,
their
it doesn't
naturally.
cloud
Mhm.
naturally in a
Yeah.
360-degree radius. It would just
Right.
straight out.
I did like the House of Mirrors and fighting the monster, who I guess it was a monster or it was a guy with a mask. I don't know.
Andre the Giant.
It didn't. that mask didn't look very good. But I did like the
You
concept.
guys are killing me. I love that.
There wasn't very much articulation in the face and all that.
Well, you could argue, I suppose, that it was a magical manifestation of the wizard.
Yeah.
So he's using all of his power to get it out there. He didn't have time to make it look too good.
So I kind of think this is that scene where that monster is a callback or a reference to the very first Conan story that was published by Robert E. Howard, because there's a an ape-like creature in a red cloak that attacks him in the first book that was or first story that was published. So I think that's kind of a callback to that. And the Thoth-Amon is actually mentioned in that story too, who is the wizard's cast. So that's where they're at.
Okay. Well, I thought it was a cool idea to have him break in the mirrors instead of fighting the guy. Although I don't know why this wizard like hung all the mirrors around the room. Like, why wouldn't he put them like off to the side or something where Conan couldn't get to them? Maybe
he needed the mirrors to project.
Maybe, but they didn't explain that.
Well, it's the same logic of why his friends can't get through that mirror until the end when he just smashes it.
Right. Okay. So yeah, there was that. Then the castle falls apart. Then they're ambushed. They get out of that. They spread white goo on each other. Mm-hmm. Then they have then Conan gets drunk. There's comedy. They have the 14-year-old sex education scene. Princess uses the Force to find out where they need to go. Oh, I did like Grace Jones and the rat when they stumble on that rat. I
like that too.
That got a chuckle out of me because she's supposed to be tough and everything, and then she did the little girly thing and thing. It was nice. It was
what you call character development.
Yeah, exactly. It was a nice little touch, and then she gives like that embarrassed look, like. Conan finds out that they're planning on killing the princess now. That's the big thing, right? They want this horn. I guess they need her to find this gem, and then she can find this horn.
Horn of Daggeth.
Right, and then they're going to have a ceremony and kill her. But Conan's doing all this stuff because they promised him that if he does this, that they'll bring Frogtown back, and he can have his kingdom. He'll have a queen for his kingdom that he's promised in the future.
Yes, I don't really get why he went back on it, because like Bombata, who he was told to have Conan die, he's just doing his job. You go around in these old kingdoms, they sacrifice people all the time. It's kind of goes with the territory. So I don't know. Conan could have just like, all right, go ahead, because I just want my kingdom and my lady, because he ends up rejecting her at the end.
Well, I think he realizes that they were just using him, and they weren't gonna. It was impossible to bring Valeria back.
At that point, he says, "Yeah, this whole thing's a lie. They're not going to do the thing." And now he's pissed off at them. So now it's Revenge Town.
Okay.
So the guy with the clicking wrists, he's got an army. He's chasing them. Like, these guys come out, and then
that's that Wonder Woman magic.
You got the wizard fight.
Yeah, and that was pretty good.
The wizard fight to open and close the door.
Then Wilt the Stilt pulls a Lando on the rest of the team and takes the 13-year-old off and knocks the ceiling, closes up the hole, and the rest of the gang can't get to them. Then they got the girl in the ceremony place. They're going to do the ceremony. She's got to put the horn on the guy, and then Andre the Giant shows up in a rubber suit.
Well,
that one was Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the guy in the mirror was Andre the Giant.
No.
Yeah. Okay, that's why I was thinking, he didn't look that big.
That was Pat Roach.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay. The mirror one is the one I think looks terrible. The one at the end I liked with the horn.
Am I getting confused? No. You like that guy with the rubber mat, like the rubber, like you said, he had a vagina mouth. That's
vagina mouth.
That's a vagina.
Yeah,
mouth.
I was thinking of the other guy in the mirror with the red cape.
You're seeing a lot of vagina mouths.
Yeah, they both had questionable mouths, but the one in the mirrors, that one looked like a Halloween store costume. The one at the end I thought was fun. I
Good.
enjoyed
Good.
that ending.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't
Yes.
agree. I think they could have done a little better.
Well, they could have go back and donate a few. Go join their Patreon. Get
It's
them
done.
some
It's
money.
over. The movie's done. It's over. Unless I nerd rage and get enough people to nerd rage, and then get one of the actors to tweet
Oh,
about it.
I
and
thought
then-
the ending was fine. At the end of that movie, that's what I needed, is something like that to just.
I think it
wrap
was
up.
fine. It was a little disappointing. It was just a little disappointing.
Well,
I thought
yeah.
it didn't look.
Yeah,
great.
it goes south because they didn't. They were said the princess had to be sacrificed at the first sign of Dagoth coming to life, and that didn't happen.
Right.
So that's why he turned into a monster.
Well, you said earlier they cut this film down to get it a PG rating. So maybe if some of the other scenes were in there, maybe it would have made up for the fact that it didn't look so nice.
Maybe. Well, maybe we need the director.
You don't like when they pull the horn out and you can see all
No,
the
that was fine.
tendons and stuff. I always love that. That's so
that was fine. That was all cool. That was, but just him in the rubber suit and fighting, and I don't know. It just. I don't know.
I'm a sucker for rubber suit guys, though.
I did like when Wilt Chamberlain tried to bite off Arnie's ear, Mike Tyson style. And that's pretty much it.
How tiny do the weapons look while Wilt is holding them? I think they need to double the length of his swords or giving him a different weapon. Because when he's holding like a broadsword or this long sword, it looks like he's holding a knife.
He's a very big man. Very big guy.
Yeah, that I was so surprised because, of course, Schwarzenegger is not a small person, but then you see Wilt Chamberlain standing next to him, and he is like head and shoulders above him.
They need to give him a staff or something.
Okay, that's it for that movie. Anything else to say? I'll just say like it was better. It was better than the first.
Did you like it? Though? You guys both liked it.
Yeah,
it's like it's. I'll say for these movies, the first one, the second one, if they're on TV, like if I'm sitting around hanging around with somebody and we're just goofing around and that comes on TV, it's perfect background movie. Like put that on, you know, when a good scene comes up, we'll laugh at it, enjoy it. If it's kind of boring, just focus on something else. But I do like Destroyer better than Barbarian.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would actively sit down to watch it anytime soon. It's not. But it does have its moments.
I would buy it on
better.
Blu-ray. I would buy it on Blu-ray. I liked it enough that I want to watch it again, and then it would complete my Andre the Giant collection. Princess Bride, Conan the Destroyer, good to go.
You got to find out what other movies he's been hiding.
That's it. Those are the two. Those are his top two. His top two hits.
Top
right there.
two?
Yeah.
Oh, and his biopic. You can enjoy that one.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was good. I liked it. I liked it. I liked it. But it definitely had the tone and the pacing that I enjoyed. Not everything worked, but I think over time too, over multiple viewings, you'll just kind of forgive all of its little faults and just fall in love with all the good stuff and forget about all the bad. I can't see myself doing that with the first movie. I think the first movie is just too much of a drag. This one was much better. Okay, Red Sonja time. Did I do a rundown yet? I don't think so. I'll do this one. The fearless warrior Red Sonja sets out to avenge her family's murder and rid her kingdom from the tyrannical rule of evil Queen Gedrin. Film stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bridget Nelson, and Sandel Bergman. Director is Richard Fleischer again. Writing credits include Clive Exton and George MacDonald Fraser. Runtime is 1 hour, 29 minutes. Very short, concise movie. Really appreciated that. Box office budget. The budget was $17.9 million, and it only made $7 million.
Ouch.
Whoops.
Worldwide.
Oops.
Flop city for Red Sonja, which is probably why we haven't seen another Conan one until the Aquaman one came out. Okay, fun facts. Matt Bandy, would you like to give us a fun fact?
Arnold Schwarzenegger's character was originally intended to be a reprisal of Conan, but the film did not have the rights to his name. An unofficial explanation endorsed by fans is that Calidor is one of Conan's traveling names.
No, because they say he's like this priest guy who's like associated with that. Try that. That ain't Conan.
Mm-hmm.
Although
No.
when I looked this movie up a while back, like even the internet was getting it wrong, where it's just like starring Bridget Nelson as Red Sonja, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Conan the Barbarian, or maybe just
Yeah.
people just want to see him as
Well,
Conan.
no, even Google.
He got top billing, didn't he?
He has top
Yeah.
billing, but even Google says that he is Conan the Barbarian in the movie. Like he's credited on Google. I'm not sure about IMDb, but yeah. For some
No,
reason.
it's on IMDb. It's not.
It is. What is his name? Calidor.
Yeah.
The poor interns that had to write that blog, they weren't watching this. They just threw it in there.
Okay, Richard. Next one.
Arnold Schwarzenegger claims this movie as one of his worst, but an excellent disciplinary tool for his children. I tell them if they get on my bad side, they'll be forced to watch Red Sonja 10 times in a row.
And finally, critic Gene Siskel called the film a bad film that was unintentionally funny. Okay.
I actually
go.
watched Gene and Siskel's review. Or I'm sorry, Gene Siskel and
Siskel and Ebert.
Ebert. Yeah, I watched their after I finished watching the movie. I immediately went to watch their review on it.
What did they say?
Yeah, they were pretty harsh on it.
I can imagine.
It was funny.
Well, I remember this one from seeing it as a kid. I watched it many times. It would just come on TV every few months, it seemed. And there were a couple of scenes that really stood out that I remembered well, like the sea serpent, the robot monster thing. A couple of other moments here and there. Ernie Reyes Jr. Again, I saw this as a kid, so it was like, oh, there's a kid in here too. It was a pretty rough watch. I watched this last night, just before going to bed. I had to like just cram it in, and like I couldn't stay focused on this movie. I was constantly doing other things while watching it. I in some ways I kind of like it better than the Conan movies, just because the pacing, it's short, it's pretty clear of what the intentions were. It follows through. It's basically the same formula. You know, you got your hero, you build up all the friends along the way, you go do the thing, fight the bad guy. There's nothing terribly wrong with it other than the fact that it's boring. And yeah, you got a couple of characters that, again, the bad comic relief, the kid gets really obnoxious.
That's the worst part of he's awful. It's so annoying. I don't see the purpose of that. I don't get why this would have been a better movie had they just cut Ernie Reyes Jr. out of that.
Was he in anything else? Like you guys seem to know him.
He was in Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles 2. And he does a lot of like martial arts stuff behind the scenes. He was actually in Indiana Jones Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. He's the tribal guy that Indiana Jones blows the dart back into his throat.
I don't remember that movie at all.
Yeah. I actually want to watch that again. It's been so long. I wonder.
Man. Really bad.
Yeah, I know
CG.
it's not going to be great, but I don't think it's going to be so horrific. Enough nerd rage has passed. I'm curious to watch it again.
All right. Well, you ready for the controversial opinion? Are you ready for
your favorite one?
No, not my favorite one. But I didn't think it was that bad.
I don't think it's terrible. It's just boring.
I thought it's my second favorite. I like the second movie the best. I think this one was better than the first one. Not as good as the second, but I enjoyed the pacing of it. And I don't know. I didn't find it extremely boring. I did have to cram it in because I was having problems with the file, with the preservation copy for some reason. That caused a little bit of stress today. So I did have to cram it right in. So I really appreciated it being a short film. But I don't know. I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it had its moments, and I don't know exactly if I would watch it again. I don't know if I would get the Blu-ray for this one, but it had a simple story. The talisman is this evil thing that they need to destroy. It's in the bad guy's hands, and so these people get together and they do the thing. I think the way Arnold kind of comes in and goes out of the movie is a little awkward and a little weird. Yeah. Red Sonja is supposed to be the hero, and I was disappointed how he kept coming and bailing her out of every situation. Like you wanted to see her be the strong leader, and she does fight the bad guy at the end and overcomes the evil and, spoiler alert, destroys the talisman and all that stuff. But it would just felt like as if Arnold wasn't there, she never would have got to that point, and it just kind of feels, I don't know.
Yeah,
like
well, they set her up
like
right away. They set her up as being this great sword master. You see her;
she's got the power. They anoint her.
She's
the chosen.
She finishes her training. The master's like, I can't teach you anymore. You're the master of the master, whatever. She goes out, gets into her first sword fight, and she's like dropping her sword and barely scraping through. They didn't have really a consistency with her character there.
Kill that guy at the like when she stumbles into that town at the beginning, and the guy's like, you gotta pay to get through.
That's the guy I'm talking about. He disarms her like in the fight. Yeah.
Okay, she does best him towards the end, and Arnold doesn't bail her out of that situation. But yeah, she still was struggling. And then when she does fight Arnold, because they can only have sex if they fight for some reason, they both want to get laid, but they got to fight. It's a draw. So that has to be Conan the Barbarian. How could she have like this, superpower and bested by just some dude?
Well, like you said, it for all intents and purposes, it is Conan. They just had to change the name for legal reasons. So
yeah. I actually wrote, like, when he said his name Calidor, I wrote liar. It's like, Calidor, liar. You're Conan the Barbarian. I know it.
And in the second movie, everyone seems to know who Conan is.
Yeah.
Like, oh yes, I know of you.
And it's weird too. They set up this thing that they have 13 days to get this job done. And then it's kind of like not ever mentioned again. It's like, you got to do this in 13 days. I'm like, okay, there's the time.
She does say halfway through, it's like, oh, I only have 4 more days to find this thing.
Okay, I might have missed that.
But yeah, it doesn't seem like it's a ticking clock.
Yeah, like they're not in any sort of hurry. They're like still goofing around. Like when they do meet the annoying kid and his pal, like they're dicking around with him, and and it's like, don't you need to be like getting going? Like, don't you need to move and get on with this task? It's kind of like a Zelda game. Link is going around looking at a whole bunch of stuff. Meanwhile, like the princess needs to be saved in the castle.
I don't know. There's a lot of like as a whole story. Sometimes it's pretty boring, but there are a lot of set pieces and individual moments that I enjoy more than some of the things that happen in the Conan movies. I like the the door crushing the guy. Which when they go back out and that door opens, like there should have been some there should have been a smushy little something there. And I have a feeling that they maybe cut out a sound effect, because there's no like as the guy's getting crushed. It's just
Did you guys recognize who that guy was?
That's the guy from Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah, the Nazi guy with the
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like the end fight, the room with all the candles.
That was cool.
Kind of cool. Yeah. The ground opening up.
Yeah, that was more of a visual thing than anything, because she like this orb needs light in order to grow power. So her idea for it to give it light is to put all these candles around. But I don't know, wouldn't torches and bonfires? If it had to be firelight, I don't know if it couldn't be sunlight.
Leave it out in the sun,
Yeah, I don't know if it couldn't be sunlight or whatever, but they kept it in this room with all these candles,
because it looked cool for the big fight.
And then when the kid falls under that, like that thing of candles falls down on top of him and he's stuck underneath it, he would have been like covered in candle wax, man. I have dropped candles and it is a mess, especially if you drop it in carpet. It's not a good time. And that kid was
magic candles.
I guess so. They didn't have any. There was a lot of things too that kind of didn't make sense. Like they kind of didn't go anywhere with it. Like they had that the evil queen, who I thought was going to turn out to be because it's played by the same actress.
Yeah, odd casting choice.
Right. And I thought it was going to turn out to be her, and then it was going to reveal that, what's his name? Calidor. I don't know why I can't remember his name. I thought that was going to turn out he's Conan. He's going to see that, hey, what's going on? How come you're bad now? And then that was going to all play out, but none of that happened. So that was a weird thing. But like she had a pet spider, and she's like, oh, my little
that
pet
was neat.
And I thought, okay, this is gonna come up at some point. Like that kid's gonna get trapped in a room, and that spider's gonna be like coming at that kid, right? I just thought it was like the perfect size to chase a small kid, and that's where that we were going. Never happened. They just showed this big ass spider sit by the throne. I did like when the evil queen is like, hey, I want to see where the good guys are right now. So her right hand wizard man says, okay, let me check on my magic mirror here, my magic foam thing, or I don't know. It was like I don't know. It was like a thing where he could see where people are.
Oh, is that where he accidentally gets like the wrong channel?
Right. Yeah.
So
he's like trying to channel into it, and then up this naked lady pops in, and he's like, "Oh man!" And he's trying to change the channel quickly. It was like he accidentally opened up like something on his web browser, but he wasn't supposed to. I thought that was pretty good. So I
did like her little wizard in the corner, and she uses him in the fight at the end where she's teleporting around.
Yeah. No, I thought
like that.
It's
like having your DJ in the corner, and he's got his little setup, and then Sonja has to go attack him.
I thought it was weird
just
though,
like
that
the mirror
good guys came in there, and they're like, okay, let's fight the queen. And nobody like sees the guy in the corner sitting there with the like, you think
you'd be focused on, it takes you a second to figure it out.
I guess so.
One thing that kind of stuck out to me is like the very beginning of the movie, where they those guys come to steal the orb, but they open up that pit and they're throwing all the girls down in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys caught that or heard the audio they were using. It didn't sound like they were suffering.
No.
Down in. I was like,
yeah.
What's going down in that? What's going on in that hole there?
Maybe there was a big snake down there.
Yeah.
No. They are part of
the one thing that was most off-putting to me was the very beginning of the movie, which I don't remember this when I was a kid, but it starts with like a fire, and you see Sonja on the ground, and then they basically go back in time to like a few hours earlier, maybe, and then recap the fact that she was just attacked and her village was destroyed. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing maybe they shot that scene and then for time decided to edit it into like a little flashback.
Maybe.
Because it doesn't really make sense why they would try to summarize something right at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it's a very awkward. It's a very awkward opening.
It's an awkward opening, and it begins like in the first 2 minutes. You find out she was raped. It's like, this kind of puts a damper on the whole fun sword and sorcery movie.
There's a thing I watch a lot of old movies too, and for some reason, like rape is thrown in a lot of these movies, like as if it's just a thing that happens, Yeah, and I don't know if it was just the mentality where people were or anything like that, but to me, like that is just like. There's no fun with like you're trying to have fun with these stupid movies and they got to throw the rape in there. And it's like, I understand it happens and it's bad.
Yeah. And it kind of, to some degree, they're trying to make that part of her character. Like they say she hates men and
she's got an itch,
very
got
distrustful.
A chip on her shoulder. Right.
In a stronger movie, maybe you could pull something off with that. This is like, fighting giant snake monsters and
slight fun, Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Trying to have fun here, Don't bring me down. Right, Sonja. Okay.
What else did she do, this actress? I recognize the name.
Rocky 5?
She was married.
Okay. Yeah.
She got married to Stallone. And so she was in a few Stallone movies. She was in Rocky 5 and Cobra. And I'm not sure what else. I could ask Sarah.
Oh, she was in what was that show with Flavor Flav with where they were married for a little bit? Do you remember? This was like in the early 2000s, so it was
the reality show.
Yeah, it was like
Oh,
it was
okay.
like a train wreck. It was awful. Or like they were on that, I don't know, it was like some celebrity rehab or like just a real life where they were like living in this house together and they developed this romantic relationship, and then they had a spin-off show of that too. But it was awful garbage.
What'd you think of the seesaw with the dining room table fighting?
Oh, I was
Sorry,
right.
jumped
Okay.
in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that guy was well, him and the kid. It was just a bad combo. I was just remembering. Yeah, she was also in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
She wasn't the tall woman?
She was
blonde?
like, yeah,
Yeah, that was her. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. She's
It makes it, yeah, because she's exactly like she was in Rocky 5.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Another really good movie poster.
yes, all three of them had excellent movie posters. Wish they would go back to that style. But anyways, yeah, that's how I'd rank them. Destroyer, Red Sonja, Conan the Barbarian, which I completely thought it would be the other way around, because usually it is, like the first one's always good and then the sequels kind of get worse and worse as they go. But
well, I think they realized, well, of course they got a different director, so his vision for it was a little more, silly, fun.
for these two movies, it was the same director for the two sequels,
right? And that worked better for me. I think the first one they thought it was going to be something bigger, more epic, and I saw an interview with James Earl Jones talking about it, and he's kind of comparing it to Star Wars a little bit, of like, it's time for these great epics. So I'm wondering if they just thought it was going to be something a little more impressive than it actually was.
Yeah, I think I even like how what's his name again? Fleischer? Yeah, Richard Fleischer. I even liked his style. Like, he just seems to have like some, like, just how things in these kind of movies are supposed to look. Like, just when he had like all the priests and that worshiping and that with the swords, and they were all in a circle and moving around. That like that kind of imagery and stuff I think was missing in the first movie. Like, the first movie had some good stuff, like the big snake and that, but I don't know. It just seemed like, the people worshiping in the first movie just didn't seem like, I don't know, they wanted to be there or something. And in this one, they all seem to be into it. I don't know. It just had a more fun vibe that I...
You know what else he directed? Fantastic Voyage.
Can't remember
Soylent Green.
Oh, yeah. He directed Soylent Green?
He directed Soylent Green.
Okay.
Go. Right on. Okay. Anyway,
Red Sonja was his second to last movie.
What was his last movie?
$1 Million Mystery.
Yeah, don't know that one.
Yeah.
So, Matt, how would you rank the Conan movies?
For me, it would be Destroyer, Barbarian, and then Red Sonja.
Red Sonja. Richard?
No, Destroyer, Sonja, Barbarian.
Okay, there you go.
In terms of being easier to watch and just light fun.
Yeah.
Again, if you can edit down Barbarian to an hour and a half, maybe it would alternate. But
yeah,
that is a drag.
Agreed. Okay, I got a bonus fun fact for everybody because I know they love their fun facts. Mm-hmm. The original director, John Milius, came close to making a third Conan movie with Schwarzenegger in 2002. His script, entitled King Conan, Crown of Iron, was to be directed by The Matrix Andy and Lana Wachowski, but was scrapped after Schwarzenegger was elected governor of California. I can't believe we made it this far into a Schwarzenegger episode with, like, that is the first Schwarzenegger impression. That is an hour and 23 minutes, and we're just now getting to a Schwarzenegger impression. What's wrong with you guys?
It's your Conan pacing.
Yeah, I've heard talk like every once in a while about like, oh, what are they going to do, the King Conan or Old Man Conan? I've always heard rumors about that, but
it seems like Arnold is open to anything right now. So, he's doing the Terminators, and I heard they were thinking of bringing twins back.
Oh yeah, I heard that too.
So who knows?
Well, he's got to do
Okay.
something.
Yeah. Okay, we have a little something to talk about now that we're done. We wrapped all 3 movies with a bow. We said it all. We're done. Just remind everybody for next month, for June, we're doing 70s Jack Nicholson. That includes The Last Detail, 5 Easy Pieces, and 1 Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And then in July, we're doing Josh versus Curtis. Now, while Richard was sleeping before we started recording, myself and Curtis did a little bit of show production. We had a producers meeting without Richard, and we decided on something. We decided that since Josh can only pick 1 movie and Curtis can only pick 1 movie, we're going to make the 3rd movie what the folks in Discord are going to pick. I can't speak English. The folks in Discord are going to pick the next movie. Anyone who's in our Discord server can vote for one of the movies. And we'll put a list in there, and you can pick one of the movies. So we have our picks from Curtis and Josh. We don't know who picked what, but we have our 2 picks. Are you ready? Are you ready to hear them? Are you set?
I'm ready.
Okay, well, thank you, Matt Bandy, for being part of the conversation.
I just looked at them.
Yeah,
so
I know
them.
But not anyone else doesn't know. All right. So there are 2 picks out of all the movies are Attack the Block and It Follows. Have you seen either of these movies, Matt Bandy?
I haven't.
Attack the Block and It Follows. Okay.
Have you ever heard of them?
I heard you mention them in your last episode.
Okay.
Okay.
I did see, because I've been watching people, do their Blu-ray collections and flipping through all their Blu-rays and talk about the movies they have. And a few people have It Follows. That came up a few times, but nobody has Attack the Block.
Is that a horror movie?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Don't know anything about it. And if they started talking about It Follows, I ignored them. I went off to the next thing. I don't want to know anything. I'm going in fresh here. Okay, so out of the movies left over, and there'll be a list there, but you might be listening and you want to hear what movies are left over for you to choose from in Discord. There are the movies are The Leftovers. No, sorry, The Leftovers are Defender, Dope, 8th Grade, The Lobster, Midsommar, and Wet Hot American Summer. Have you seen any of those movies, Matt Bandy?
No, but I know Wet Hot American Summer and I know Midsommar. Those 2 I've heard of.
Okay. All right. Well, we got all that information through a third party, so we don't know who picked what or anything like that. But if you want to choose the 3rd movie, if you've seen one of these movies, you want to choose, don't tell us anything about it. Just go into the Discord and pick one of those movies. And if it's a crazy tie or something like that, maybe we'll do a poll on Twitter or something like that. But for right now, it's a Discord exclusive, and we're hoping that people on Discord pick a clear winner, and then that will be our choice, our third movie. Sound good?
Okay.
All right.
So I don't have to do anything.
No.
All right. Okay. I like this.
Good. You can go back to sleep as soon as we're done.
All right.
Which I
You
think
make
we
it
are.
sound like I'm being lazy. It's early morning where I am.
You're the only one that thinks that. Matt, did I make it sound like he's being lazy?
No, not at all.
I see. Exactly. There you go. Our listeners know. They know you're not lazy, Richard. You're just tired.
I'm very tired.
You need your
stay
rest.
up watching Red Sonja all night.
Yeah. Well, I liked it. It was good. I had to cram it in, but it was good. Okay. That's it for this episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening, possibly watching, depending on where you are. Thank you, Matt Bandy, for joining us.
Thank you for having
me.
And before we go, if I could
giving us all the knowledge.
Could I give a couple recommendations?
Absolutely.
Am I allowed? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'd like to recommend a few movies here, of the sword.
This is if we liked what?
If you enjoyed the sword, if you're a fan of sword and sorcery type movies, I would recommend there is a series called Death Stalker. I've only seen the first two, but Deathstalker 1 is these are super super cheesy, and a lot of boobs. So if you're into boobs, it's
Cheese and boobs.
cheese and boobs. Deathstalker.
How old are these boobs? I don't want to be fooled again.
They're
1983.
They're of age.
120 minutes.
Of age boobs.
Of age. All right.
Mhm.
Of age boobs. All
And
right.
there's another movie called The Sorcerer, which I don't know why it's called The Sorcerer because there's not a sorcerer in the movie. Both of these were streaming on Prime. Those two I would recommend. They're just fun watches. They're not trying to be serious at all. They're very very schlocky and very typical of the 80s cheap sword and sorcery movies. There was two recommendations, and I would also like to recommend this collection of Conan the Barbarian movies. These are the first. These are there's a few of these.
I mean books.
Books, yeah. These are.
Those are. Yeah.
This is a book here. You read it. There's collections of Robert E. Howard's stories. There's, I think, 2 more of these volumes, but these are presented in their not chronological, but in the by their publication dates. And these are great. They're all fairly short stories. These are originally printed in pulp magazines and different publications, but you can pick up these and just read any story really you want. There's not you can read it and understand it. So yeah, highly recommend this.
Conan stories. I'd be interested in that. I imagine, letting it all play out in your head.
Yeah,
would,
it's
add a lot to the charm of the game.
They're really good. And there's the new series right now that's a few series, The Savage Sword of Conan and Conan the Barbarian, that's Marvel has been putting out that people enjoy. I haven't read those yet, but they've been getting pretty good reviews. I've read the Dark Horse comics that were rebooted in like the mid 2000s. Those are great too. So I'd recommend those as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
I
you.
thought Conan was comic books. I didn't know they were.
I think it was
novels.
adapted for comics. They acquired the rights.
So yeah,
Did
so
their
those comics were a lot of they were. I think there was a series called The Savage Sword of Conan that I think Marvel put it out in like the 70s, but a lot of those stories are all taken from the Robert E. Howard, who created Conan the Barbarian. He created Conan and Red Sonja and a few other. Cole was another. This was another one of his creations. King Cole. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Oh, was
Yeah.
that was that the inspiration for that Kevin Sorbo movie?
I
Cole the
don't know.
Conqueror?
I've never seen that. That's a good question. I don't know. But
I was looking at the fun facts and that, and they did bring up that movie, and apparently that was that movie with Kevin Sorbo was originally planned to be the third movie with Schwarzenegger. They were supposed to make a third one.
I've heard it's good. I haven't
It's what-
seen it, but I've heard that's a good movie.
Can you hear that?
I don't know if it was good.
Oh,
I saw it in the theater.
you did?
Yeah, and it had a very silly ending, but
Okay.
I don't know. I'd have to see it again. It's been so long.
Well, they were supposed to make that in the third one, but Arnold was he was working on Predator. He was in the Predator, so they couldn't get him. And then his contract expired. They had to make the third movie within a certain amount of time, and I don't know why Red Sonja didn't count as the third one because he's obviously Conan and whatever. Anyways, okay.
I guess if you're into barbarians, you go to that Howard guy. He seems to have created all of them.
Yeah, like is there really anything else? It's just Conan the Barbarian. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
He-Man. Watch Masters of the Universe.
There's a lot of good sword and sorcery, epic, heroic fantasy characters that, if you'd like, I could point you in the direction. So, Let me know.
Nah, maybe someday. Maybe someday. We need to wrap this up because
Do you
Steven's
need
in the
more
chat
than
right
Willow?
now. That's it. That's all I need. So Steven's in the chat. He wants us to talk about the NES game. Not happening. I don't care about that game. Crawl
It's
was meant to be
awful.
a Conan movie. That's what he says. It's not great.
Oh, it's terrible.
I don't think I ever played it. And
I didn't
who
know there
wants to
was
talk
one.
about a bad game? Who wants
I
to talk
played
about bad
Played that
video
Conan
games?
game with what's his name? The guy. He's got a face. And a name.
Conan game with that
Ron
guy.
Perlman. Ron Perlman. He did the voice
There was
of
a
Conan.
Oh, really?
On like
was that
the
like
360 PS3 era. Yeah.
that hack and slash? Yeah,
Yeah.
that game
Yeah,
was
it's so good.
stiff. It was stiff. The gameplay was really stiff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. We're talking about bad video games now. That's only the ABGN can talk about bad video games on YouTube and going on bad territory. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you.
Listening.
Thank you, Matt.
And
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And that's it. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
I have to hit end broadcast twice.